Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. I'm your host, Dr. Shauna Menard, and I am so excited for this episode. If you are a mompreneur, a mom who is an entrepreneur who might be stressed and going through perimenopause, and you think, gosh, if it wasn't hard enough and now I got to deal with this, definitely you want to tune in for our special expert guest today, Leslie Andrews. Leslie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. So Leslie is a certified integrative nutrition health coach. She's also a licensed massage therapist. She's a board certified therapeutic massage and body worker. She is dedicated to helping women successfully manage their symptoms associated with perimenopause. As a busy mom and entrepreneur herself, you'll find more about that. She knows firsthand what it's like to have to juggle all the demands of a busy schedule and kids and all of that, while feeling tired and achy and really out of sorts. And her desire is to help people live a more balanced life. She wanted that for herself. She became a health coach, and then she wanted to find a way to have a natural solution to this thing that just kind of overtakes you. It kind of creeps up on you and overtakes you. And a lot of women are struggling, trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I manage all the symptoms? And some of it, they don't even know are perimenopause. We'll talk about some of those symptoms that people have that they don't even realize it. So she now has a solution, a natural solution to help women address and overcome perimenopause and empower them to live their best lives. So she resides in the cozy village of Milford, Michigan. So welcome, Leslie.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So tell us, Leslie, what is it that you do?
I help exhausted perimenopausal mompreneurs lose their weight, get their energy back, and manage their stress so they can thrive not only personally, but professionally as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, because these moms are a special breed, like all women as they go through perimenopause. I shouldn't say all women, but all women, I'm going to say, at least in North America, as they're going through that, they struggle. But then a lot of women who are entrepreneurs like yourself, that's a extra level of stress. Now you throw in a family to boot. Wow, they're kind of getting it from all angles. So and they usually don't have a lot of time to sort out and figure out how to get on the other side of it. So how did you get into doing this line of work? Tell us a little bit about your story. What happened?
Well, I've had a thriving massage business for 17 years. Pretty early on, though, I had my own experience with perimenopause, and it began to interfere with what I was doing. And it's really difficult to help people feel better and get on the other side of their pain when you're going through when you're managing your own. So for me, it started with joint pain, and everything was just started to go a little sideways. And I wasn't entirely sure what was happening, but it started with the joint pain. Then I noticed that I wasn't sleeping through the night anymore. So I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning or some crazy hour, and I'd toss, I'd turn, but I could never really fully get back to sleep. So of course, then you wake up in the morning and you're exhausted and you're irritable and you're moody, and you've got the demands of, yes, your family, and you've got to show up at work and handle a business to boot. And so there was all that going on. And then slowly in the background, my hair starts to thin. And of course, she knows I've got this menopausal middle, right? I've gained 20 pounds. And so I was just, so many different things were going on. I was out of sorts, and I did not feel at all like myself anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have to show up for your business, but it's hard. Helping people with their health as a massage therapist, you need to use your hands, you need to be on your feet, but you're exhausted, and but you still have to do it, and you kind of feel like inauthentic or I don't know, or drained. I guess more drained than anything else. So tell us a little bit more about that. Okay, so you're there, you just got to put food on the table, roof over your head. You like doing the work that you do, but your body's just really not cooperating. You mentioned joint pain. I think that's one of those symptoms that a lot of women don't really associate with perimenopause, and they don't even know that there's a connection there until the symptoms start like mounting and ramping up, and then you're like, wait a minute.
What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening? So tell us more about that. What happened?
as I was working, my hands are my tools of my trade. So, when you're trying to help somebody and your joints are starting to ache, and every move that you make, especially particularly the thumb joints, um, it didn't matter if I was out in the yard working, doing landscaping, especially if I did anything, if I wanted to putter in the yard at all. When I went back to work the next day, my hands would just throb. And I thought, this can't be happening. I can't be burning myself out already. I've only been at this a few years. But then I started to notice other connections too. I get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and like I said, as soon as I stepped out of bed, whether then or in the morning, it's like, why my feet would kind of ache, they were a little cranky. I'm like, what is up with that? Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
So you hit this. I started to realize I was hitting this age where every day was an adventure, and I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. And like I said, the thinning hair and all these different things. And, I was aware that there were synthetic hormones that are available. I really didn't want to go that route. I wanted to try to be as natural as possible. So of course I start researching and diving in and doing all the workouts and eating and trying all the different diets, because we both know there are a ton of diets out there to choose.
Right.
You pick up a little here, a little there, but I'm like, it still wasn't all coming together. One symptom might calm down, but there were still others that were very alive and well. So, I started to piece things together. And what I learned was that what I didn't know about what I was eating was really hurting and having a negative effect on my body and every system of my body. Um, it started making inflammation was really the key to all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of foods that we eat. They're big, have a huge inflammatory response on the system. So once we can, identify those and correct those, all these things started to calm down. So it was small incremental changes that I started to make with my lifestyle. And I started to feel more like myself again, I had my energy back. I was showing up for my family, and my business was something I enjoyed again. I wasn't dreading going to work.
Right.
I wasn't dreading stuff. I'm like, oh God, this is going to hurt. I was actually enjoying what I was doing again. And it was a trickle down effect, but it really made a huge difference for me. And I've had my energy and my mental clarity, which we didn't even talk about. When you're not sleeping, you tend to walk around like you're in a fog. So when you feel sharp and you can show up 100% for your life and your business, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that why you decided to become a health coach, and is that why you started doing that route as well?
It is. I've had my massage business for many years, and I would see people, and we would handle the aches and pains. We would work things out, but I would always notice that, especially for my menopausal moms,
Mhm.
it was a short-term result.
Right.
There's something deeper and underlying there that really needs to be addressed. So once I learned once I gained the knowledge that I've learned, I really wanted to share this with them and let them know that, like, health starts from the inside out.
Yeah.
It's not putting a Band-Aid on it. It's not, treating the symptom. It's actually getting to the cause and finding out what's causing the inflammation and the pain and the hair loss and all these different things. And how can I help them so they don't have to go down the same path that I did?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, love that. And with your background, you're able to kind of um, interpret a lot of the things that you were doing. You had that good baseline knowledge and a lot of tools in your toolkit. So you can, if somebody's just coming at this new, they don't have a health background, even if they do, if they've not been through it themselves, or if this isn't it in particular, it's quite a journey. So to have someone like yourself shortcut that, just say, okay, I tried this and this and this, here's the pieces that you need, here's the things, here's the path that will just shortcut that journey for you, so you can get feeling better faster. So that's
Right.
awesome. How is it that you work with your clients? Well, how do you do this?
Well, most of my clients are, 40 to 50-year-old entrepreneurial moms. They're struggling with their hot flashes, their menopausal middles, and they're stressed out. They want to get back to feeling like themselves again. They want their energy back. They want to feel sexy in their jeans and confident in their bodies. They want to be able to show up, like I said, not only for their family, but to be back in charge and in control of their businesses and of their lives. So I work with them to help them manage their stress. They can enjoy being healthy and happy. And, we work very closely, primarily virtually. So it's easy for anyone, anywhere at that. And there's plenty of support and accountability, but also they know exactly what they're going to get on the other side of this.
Yeah.
They have that to embrace. So the most important thing is that we get the results, and I am 100% committed to my client's success, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And to be able to take someone from, not being able to function and not being at the top of their game with their business, with their family, like, having no energy. A lot of these, women have family that need them, or spouses or whatever that need them, other demands on their life. And to, map it out, make it easy, save me time. And because they don't have a lot of time to waste. And so, to walk them through it so that they can have the energy, sleep through the night, sleep like, which is generally not through the night, sleep through the night and be able to, enjoy their family is tremendous, and be able to really allow their businesses to take off and thrive, when they can be there for their family, themselves, their business. Really awesome. What would you say is, menopause is still something that's kind of a mystery to a lot of people. And what would you say, and perimenopause too, I think one of the things that's especially a mystery is how early it can start to affect women. I think you personally had that early onset. When potentially some of your demands are even greater on you, younger families and so on, going all sorts of places. But what would you say is the biggest myth that people have when it comes to perimenopause?
Perimenopause, like you said, a lot of people aren't even aware that it exists. All they know is that this whole journey going into menopause is this horrible experience. We've all seen the women with their fans blowing on their face, sitting on their desk. And it's just everything starts to go south, and we just kind of accept that this is the way it's going to be, that this is just a part of life that we have to endure. And that is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. It does not have to be that way.
Yeah. Share with them some of the symptoms that happen with perimenopause. So we know women know about hot flashes. We just talked about joint pain a minute ago, and then we talked about not sleeping well. What other things are things that come up for women when they are going through menopause? Like what all is it affecting, or what are some of
my gosh, it can affect everything. Truly, I mean, our hair loss. A lot of women have thinning hair. I know that was something that I experienced as well, along with the joint pain and the of course the added weight. Things are just not, our bodies are starting to shift. They're just shifting into a different gear. They're not stopping. They're not slowing down. We're just shifting. We're just changing gears. Stress affects us differently. You get moody and irritable, and you can't quite figure out what is this? As much as you want to try to get on top of that, you can't. Sexy time with your husband's not quite the same anymore. It's like, what is happening to me? You really need, once you start connecting the dots and realize, oh my God, this is it's all connected. This is all coming from one central thing. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's affecting your entire life. It's kind of like PMS on steroids. It's like,
it's a good way to put it. It's a very good way to put it.
All the time. And even as you're saying things, it's like, oh, I wish I wasn't saying that. But you can't help it. And to really get on the other side of it, it's a challenge for those around you, like spouses and children and yourself, to be able to not really be, just kind of feel like a little bit out of control. Like your body is going, is sweating, and you don't have any control over that. Your body, all of these things, your hair's falling out.
You can't remember why you walk into a room to get something, right?
Brain fog. So you can't, and it's like it's taking over, and you don't feel like your body's your own. It's like it's got its own agenda here. It's got somebody's, hacked into this system, the operating system, and we're melting down. So yeah.
Mhm.
Why is it important now? When you talked about the myths, like people think, well, my mother was like that, my aunt's like that, I'm going to be like that. It's just my friends are doing this, so I just have to do it. And that's the myth, that you don't have to suffer through this. And if we zoom out globally, not all women suffer through menopause. It's worse with stress, and in our North American environments, especially when we have all of these crazy demands, which really shouldn't be on you anyways, that it just aggravates it. I was sharing with you earlier, Leslie, like I had a real life experiment that happened at one point. I was working in Calgary in a clinic, and super busy. I have 6 techs asking me, send this patient to ICU, go over here. It's so-and-so needs you in that room. And it'd be just like lots of people at me. And I would have hot flashes, and I'd have trouble sleeping and all sorts of things. And then I flew to work. So that's not where I lived. And then I would fly back home to Kelowna. And I was there. I was working as a health coach, my own practice, much nicer pace, if you will, not the stress, getting out for my walks and all those things. And I didn't have the hot flashes there. So my diet was pretty much the same. So rarely does a single person have like this split life where you're living in 2 different places, one like stressful work environment, the other one, not stressful work environment, but the rest, your age, presumably other things going on in your diet. Like I kind of ate the same in both places. And so that role of stress and how it plays. So, but the truth is most of us are like under the gun and inundated, and we can't always take a 12-month vacation. So
we might like to.
I like to. So we have these stresses in our life, even joyful stresses. There's moves or different things that you're doing and that affect it. So there's a common default path for a lot of women is we'll just kind of suffer through it. We're just going to try and endure it. Why is it important to really address perimenopause, be proactive with it, see it as the warning? I think you were talking about like a warning sign, a wake-up call, that it is, rather than just kind of dismiss it under the rug and just kind of go, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to pretend it's not happening, and hopefully it's better on the other side. Why is it important to address perimenopause?
Whenever your body starts doing something different, something that is detrimental, something that isn't agreeing with you, you're not sleeping, that's a problem. Your body's trying to tell you something. So as our bodies give us these clues, these little indicators, it's a sign, it's a sign of something not being in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that we're in balance and that we can maintain everything. If we don't, when things start going sideways, it just snowballs, and all of a sudden you've got this disease that's coming from dis-ease. So the more we can actually get on top of address the symptoms and figure out where they're coming from and why they're there, and treating them as they come, it doesn't snowball and become something bigger. It can lead to, high cholesterol numbers. It can be, some really inflammatory arthritis, or osteoporosis, and osteopenia is a big one. Bone loss is something that comes with, perimenopause. Leading into menopause, our bone density becomes a big issue. I had no idea. All of a sudden I'm going in personally for a bone density test, and I was like, holy cow, what do I need to do about that? And there are certain things that we can do that will prevent that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you can get ahead of it, it doesn't have to be an issue for you.
Right. Yeah. Get ahead of the bone loss, get ahead of the muscle loss, get ahead of all of that. Yeah. And yeah, so important, because it's kind of sending off alarm. We're out of balance. We're in inflammation. Keep it going. You're not going to like what's on the other end of that road of inflammation. So it's kind of like your body saying we're out of balance. Let's come back into and I always go back. My mom used to tell me, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right. So just because
Right.
everybody else is suffering through this doesn't make it right, and doesn't.
Well, people tend to think that, it's just part of the thing. It's just part of what happens with this. And they don't realize that there's something that you can do. We can stop it and
Yeah.
change it.
And I think, one of the reasons why, in particular, like mompreneurs are attracted to you is because, you are having your own massage therapy practice for years. The stresses of being a business owner. And so the thing is, when you are in stressful positions, whether it's from family or business or whatever it is, that's just going to ramp up the symptoms. And you still have to keep going with that. So we want to get out ahead of it and get on the other side of it so that everything gets better. What are some tips that you can share? Let's say that there's someone listening in right now. She's perimenopausal. She's resonating with it. She's got some of the symptoms that you've been talking about. And you're like, oh gosh, might not even realize that was perimenopause, but this sounds like me. I'm having trouble with some of these things. What
Right.
tips can you share with our audience here?
The two biggest things are, not sleeping well and high stress levels. So the first thing I would say is that, you want to try to not do things that will trigger hot flashes and will help you get a good night's sleep. So I would, after 7 o'clock in the evening, don't eat your heavy meals, stay away from your sugary snacks, your caffeine, your alcohol. Um, it's just going to help you set the stage for a better night's sleep. In addition to that, ideally, we want to put down the electronics 1 to 2 hours before we go to bed. It just kind of gives us a minute to calm down and gives your body that chance to naturally release the melatonin that we need to sleep. If you can't put it down, get yourself a pair of blue blocking glasses, and that will help immensely with just blocking some of those EMF, that frequency that it makes you more alert. It doesn't promote that relaxation and that calm that we're needing at that point in the night.
Right.
As far as being the stress piece of it, as we shared earlier, when our kids are young, we put them in a timeout when they start going sideways and acting a little crazy. So when life gets a little crazy, put yourself in a timeout. Go stare at a wall, go walk outside, go do something. Just stay in a still place and take a few deep cleansing breaths and just let it go. And just use that as an opportunity to reset and reboot. And it really makes a huge, huge difference. My clients love to do that when I see them really going through a lot of stress. I'm like, just remember your breathing, we'll do some breathing exercises, and it really helps. And above all, as we tell everybody, drink your water.
Yeah.
More often than not, we're dehydrated. You hit that 3 o'clock slump in the middle of the day or something like that, and you're reaching for something, sugary or caffeine or something, to get you through the day. You're dehydrated. Just drink some water.
Yeah. Important. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what are some of the spin-off benefits that you've seen when you're working with clients? What are some of the things as they get their hormones back into balance? That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about
Yes.
calming the inflammation, getting rid of dangerous, deadly inflammation. In fact, we're kind of shying away from going there, but that's what we're talking about. So getting rid of that dangerous inflammation and bringing our hormones back into balance naturally and rebalancing that. Then as that improves, what are some of the spin-off benefits, other benefits that you've seen from people that you've worked with?
There have been so many, but we talked about not sleeping through the night. So when I work with my clients and they're actually getting a good night's sleep and they get out of bed in the morning and it doesn't hurt when their feet hit the floor, when you can get through your day and show up as yourself and the mental fog starts to lift, a couple of my clients, they're like, oh my God, I actually remember what I'm doing now. It's like you start to do something and you forget. So when that comes back and when you actually remember what you walked into the room for, it's a beautiful thing. They start to lose that weight, that menopausal middle starts to shrink and they're thrilled. Those are huge things. And one of my clients, her cholesterol levels dropped. Her doctor was ready to put her on a cholesterol med. A few months of following the program, and nope, no, you don't have to do it. So it was a huge thing.
That's huge. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Saving you the expense of that and the potential side effects of that. Like so much better if you can get out ahead of it. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
any other clients that come to mind?
There's some of the women that I work with, they're running their own businesses, so their anxiety levels go way up. And a couple of the ladies, one in particular, she was like, oh my God, like she's being able to help she's setting some healthy boundaries, and she's got her anxiety a little, more in check, and she's able to actually work with the stresses of the day and do that work-life balance better, so that she's able to show up, a more authentic version of her true self, and not some, running crazy and feeling all out of sorts. So it's been very awesome to watch some of the transitions as they're happening. It's cool. Yeah.
And I imagine, I think you were mentioning too that, and not even just for the woman herself, your family tends to do
Oh my
what
gosh.
you do rather than what you say. So tell us a little bit about that, like the spin-off amongst the family.
Oh, it's been awesome because I watch these ladies, and they're doing all these things, and they're making these adjustments, and their families are watching the end result, right? They're like, oh, thank God she's back. This crazy person's gone, she's back.
Yeah.
But it's a you're setting a huge example.
Mhm.
So whether your kids are grown or whether they're young, if your children are young, they're learning how to eat properly and how to take care of themselves, and it just becomes their norm. So it becomes a very obvious thing for them to follow. For older kids of my clients, they're starting to adopt some of the practices that mom's done,
Yeah.
because mom's kind of she's the leader of the pack, so to speak, right? She's setting the example, and it's the mama duck, and everybody follows.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know Not to mention their husbands. The husbands are thrilled.
Yeah. They have.
So yeah, you've got your strong, healthy relationships, and you're able to enjoy they're able to enjoy their families again in a better way, for sure.
Yeah. And it feels good for these women to know that as they're getting themselves healthier, they're actually helping their families be healthier, because all of the things that you're teaching them to do is good for like everybody. Like it's good for men, it's good for children. All
Everybody.
things are a healthy way of living. It's just that these women are now in a spot where they're in like an extreme, they're needing extreme care, versus maybe some of the other family members aren't at that point. But it also is going to be anti-inflammatory for the husbands and the kids as well. So yeah, really great. So you get that nice ripple effect, which helps keep it going,
Mhm.
because and finding ways. I know one of the things that you're really good at is finding ways that are quick and easy and simple, because these moms don't have time.
Yeah.
They they're already overwhelmed. They can't do
Mhm.
anything complicated. It has to be quick and simple, and something that they can incorporate into their daily life easily, because
Right.
otherwise they're not going to do it. And otherwise they're going to default like people are just muddling through, and that doesn't end well. Maybe it's not in the next year or two, but down the road, unchecked, that inflammation, it's going to rear its ugly head sooner or later. So much better to take this as an early warning sign, a little wake up call, and go, this is a good opportunity for me to alter the trajectory of my health right here and now. So
Right.
this has been awesome, Leslie. How can people get in touch with you if they have questions, if they're like, this is really great, but I got this symptom. You didn't talk about this symptom, or I'm not sure if this would be helpful for me, or is this menopause even, or I don't think I'm that, I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
Right.
If they
Oh,
just have,
you'd be surprised how quickly this starts.
I know, yeah, like in their 30s, women in their 30s, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
how can people get in touch with you and find out more?
You can visit my website, turningpointmi.com. And you can also go on and take the Don't Sweat It quiz to see if you might be matching up with some of the symptoms of perimenopause.
Awesome. Awesome. So you can head over to Turning Point MI, as in Michigan, turningpointmi.com. And on there, you'll see the Don't Sweat It starter kit. Yeah, there's a quiz, there's some tools and tips in there for, to get people started on their path as a little thing that they can do. It has been an absolute pleasure, Leslie. You have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips and in your brain, and generosity in your heart, and in how you help these women really get their life back together. In some cases, save their marriage, or sometimes their marriage is over already. Been there, done that, and you help themselves back together again, so that they can move forward in a stronger, healthier version of themselves. And, obviously they don't have to be entrepreneurs, but though you do have special expertise in that. But if people are suffering with pain, sleeplessness, weight gain, it's a lot easier to lose weight in your 20s than it is in your 40s or 50s. And most women understand and appreciate that. And so for you to be able to maintain your lean and clean self and balanced hormones, and to guide women along, that alone is worth it. A lot of women are just looking to get rid of their menopause, as they call it.
Right.
And or middle, as you say. It's huge. But the spin-off benefits from that, which is nice, just you got something to show for it. The stuff the work that you've done with them, and the work they've done with themselves to improve their inner state, is huge. You'll never know how much you've prevented through that work. So really, really powerful stuff. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it was an absolute pleasure to have you, Leslie.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shauna.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of healthcoachtv.com. If you like this, just be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to tune into our next episode. All right. Have a fantastic week, everyone. And most of all, be good for you.